Naomi and Janet Jackson step out to party with Diddy as he celebrates his birthday as well as the release of his new album. Check it out.
No argument, Diddy is sure having the worst time of all his 54 years on Earth. This year alone, he's gone from battling a swarm of allegations to spending time behind bars awaiting trial. He's managed to entangle a lot of people in his web doing so, with maybe the most unfortunate of these being music legend Janet Jackson, who's recently been forced to speak out about the whole debacle. Before we dive into the details, let's take a deeper look at the charges against Diddy that Janet is trying to not get mixed up in. Back in 2022, Diddy threw one of his many lavish parties in his $61 million mansion in Beverly Hills to celebrate his 53rd birthday.
You're gonna hear about my party, they're gonna be shutting them down, they're gonna probably be arresting me, doing all types of crazy things just because we want.
In attendance were some of the biggest names in the industry and beyond, with just a few notable ones being Jay-Z, Chris Brown, Machine Gun Kelly, and Mary J. Blige. The party also happened to mark his 30th year in the game as a musician and producer, one who worked with a whole host of game-changing artists like the Notorious Big, Mariah Carey, and Jennifer Lopez in the course of his storied career. For those past few decades, Sean Combs was a major force to be reckoned with in the industry. It's just a little testament to how respected he is that even Eminem touched on the rumors of Diddy being the one who got Tupac killed in his diss track against Machine Gun Kelly. He still ended his verse by making it clear as day that he still respected and loved Diddy. Things couldn't be any more different these days, though. No one wants to be mentioned in the same breath as Diddy, talk less of being associated with him. Diddy has gone from being an industry big shot to being viewed as a filthy, repulsive character and a danger to society at large. He just might be very well on his way to joining R. Kelly behind bars. The disgraced rap mogul currently stands accused of everything from kidnapping and coercing women into engaging in intimate activities. Not just that, the charges also state that Diddy would force his victims to participate in these depraved acts with firearms and violent threats. In March 2024, Diddy would receive another set of guests at his $61 million home in Beverly Hills. Although you could say these ones were unwanted, and as luck would have it, he wasn't home and he had no plans of coming back home. According to the police, they said over 1,000 bottles of baby oil and other supplies for those wild parties Diddy would refer to as his freak-offs during the raid on his home on September 17, 2024. Of course, he pleads not guilty to all the charges leveled against him, but this case is coming only a year after countless women came forward with lawsuits against the music industry legend. The beginning of the end for Diddy was when his ex-girlfriend, famous artist and supermodel Cassie Ventura, filed a lawsuit against him on November 16, 2023. For well over a decade, Cassie was signed to Diddy's Bad Boys record label, while also being his girlfriend at the time. In the lawsuit she filed against Diddy, Cassie alleged that he abused his power and position in the industry to lay the groundwork for a coercive romantic and intimate relationship.
This includes things like guns, ammunition, electronic evidence, and more than 1,000 bottles of baby oil and personal lubricant. To understand all this and how it relates to Diddy's case, we're hearing from former CIA officer and FBI agent Tracy Walder.
According to the lawsuit, Diddy would abuse her. Cassie Ventura also went into details about what went down in his freak-offs Diddy would often host in his lavish mansions. She alleged that these parties always involved a lot of substances and would typically last several days. She also alleged that Diddy would force the women present at these parties to engage in explicit performances which he would record for his pleasure. She went further with her allegations, claiming Diddy would often handle her inappropriately, engaging in intimate acts with her without her consent. She claimed a lot of Diddy's loyal associates were present at these freak-offs, either actively taking part or standing back and doing nothing to stop it. She recounted the time when a rapper by the name of Kid Cudi tried to make advances towards her. When Sean Combs found out, he flew into a rage, according to Cassie, insisting that nothing would happen between them, ultimately destroying Kid Cudi's car with a bomb. This was his way of warning the rapper to stay far away from Cassie, according to her. Sean, of course, denied all the allegations she made against him in this lawsuit and went ahead to respond by countersuing her for extortion. Shortly after this, though, the case would be settled out of court for an undisclosed amount, allowing Mr. Combs to at least maintain a semblance of innocence, even if it was for just a while. Little did he know that Cassie's lawsuit was just the first of many. Just a few weeks after settling the case with Cassie, Diddy was in hot water again after several women came forward, one after the other, to file multiple lawsuits against him, alleging a wide array of incredibly disturbing, intimate crimes. While all of these lawsuits were filed between November and December 2023, quite a few of these allegations date as far back as 1991, when Diddy was just a fresh face on the rap scene. One woman filed a lawsuit anonymously claiming Diddy and another unnamed man coerced her into intimate activities. This was followed by another lawsuit filed by Joy Dickerson Neal with allegations dating back to 1991. According to the lawsuit, back then Joy was a college student, and during a visit to his place, Diddy gave her some substances before assaulting her. Even more damning, she also alleged that Diddy filmed the entire thing and sent it to his friends afterwards. After this lawsuit, another woman named Liza Gardner came forward with another suit against the disgraced music mogul. In this lawsuit, Liza claimed that Diddy, together with another unnamed man, forced themselves on her and her friends more than 30 years ago. The claims made in the suit get darker when Liza reveals that she was 16 years old at the time of this alleged incident. She further claimed that Diddy choked her so hard during the incident that she passed out. This flood of lawsuits against Diddy came forward shortly before the expiration of the New York Survivors Act, a bill designed to make provisions for victims of cases like these to come forward and press charges even after the statute of limitations had expired. As expected, Sean Combs denied every single one of the allegations made against him, with his spokesperson dismissing all the lawsuits against Diddy as little more than a money grab. Unfortunately for Diddy, though, that would be far from the end of his legal troubles. In December 2023, another woman came forward to file a lawsuit with a very similar set of allegations against him. In the suit, the woman claimed that back in 2003, Diddy and former president of Bad Boy Records Harve Pierre and another man all ganged up on her and assaulted when she was just 17 years old. According to the anonymous woman listed as Jane Doe in court papers, she was plied with some alcohol and other substances to make her pass out before the incident. She also recalled that she was left with so much pain after the incident that she could barely stand, left in such a daze that she could not remember how she made it home that day. Diddy would respond to this particular lawsuit by insisting that he had not done any of the things mentioned against him in the lawsuit. Harve Pierre, the former president of Bad Boy Records, also responded, saying all the claims in the suit were just a ploy from people desperate for financial gain. On December 6th, 2023, Duffy decided to directly address the public about all the allegations made against him, taking to Instagram to write a post on his story captioned, "Enough is enough. For the last couple of weeks, I have sat silently and watched people try to assassinate my character, destroy my reputation and my legacy. Sickening allegations have been made against me by individuals looking for a quick payday. Let me be absolutely clear. I did not do any of the awful things being alleged. I will fight for my name, my family, and for the truth." That Instagram post would come back to haunt him, as just 2 months after he made it, he would be back in the spotlight with a fresh set of legal woes. In February 2024, a new plaintiff would come forward with charges against P Diddy. Only this time, he was a man, music producer Rodney Jones Jr. New as the charges were, though, his lawsuit still made incredibly similar claims to those of all the women who had filed lawsuits against Diddy the year before. Jones alleged that Diddy on multiple occasions harassed and assaulted him, forced him to hire commercial escorts and engage in explicit acts with them against his will. He also added that Diddy repeatedly tried to groom him into engaging in intimate relations with another man, with Diddy claiming, according to Jones, that such acts were a norm in the music industry.
Fucking head, cause I run shit here, nigga. You feel me? I run shit.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah.
Little Rod ain't worth giving this kingdom to if we don't control his publishing.
Diddy's lawyer, Sean Hawley, fired back at Rodney's allegations, painting him as nothing more than a liar, making up fictitious claims that could be discredited with a wealth of evidence. At this point, Diddy probably felt comfortable that he'd beaten this case and cleared his name, but he couldn't have been more mistaken. What he was about to face would be something much bigger and far more consequential than any of the lawsuits filed against him so far. On May the 17th, 2024, CCTV footage of Diddy hitting Cassie while they were in a hotel hallway was leaked to the public. The footage dated back to 2016 and was obtained as an exclusive scoop by CNN. In the extremely disturbing video, Cassie can be seen trying to run away from Diddy before he catches up with her, and he abuses her. The video went viral on the internet, and Diddy became a trending topic, leading his fellow superstars and fans alike to express their outrage at him for committing such a despicable act. In response to the backlash, Diddy recorded a video the following day in a half-hearted attempt to apologize for his actions. In his words, he said he was taking full responsibility for his actions in the video and that he was disgusted when he did, and he is still disgusted now. The internet was already not buying what many people saw as a poorly thought-out attempt at damage control, but all his efforts would be rendered futile by a statement Cassie would release to the public shortly after. In the statement, she expressed just how horrible life was for her with Diddy due to the inexcusable levels of domestic violence that she suffered at his hands. In the statement, Cassie wrote, "It broke me down to someone I never thought I would become."
It's so difficult to reflect on the darkest times in your life, but sometimes you gotta do that. I was fucked up. I hit rock bottom, but I made no excuses. My behavior on that video is inexcusable.
Just 4 days after his apology video, Diddy would find himself in hot water again as model and actress Crystal McKinney would file her own lawsuit against him. In her suit, Crystal alleged that in 2023, Diddy gave her substances and then forced her to perform intimate acts on him in the bathroom of a New York City recording studio. Things would only get worse for him when 2 days later, he got slammed with another suit by April Lamprose, who claimed that Diddy forced himself on her on 4 different occasions between 1995 and 2000. According to April, she met the rap superstar back in 1994 when she was just a student at the Fashion Institute of Technology in New York. According to her, what they had started off as a romantic relationship that quickly turned abusive, violent, and coercive. In one instance in her lawsuit, she claimed the rapper once forced her to take some pills and engage in intercourse with his then-girlfriend. The unrelenting barrage of lawsuits being filed against Diddy had completely tarnished his name by this point. His public image as one of the most respected figures in the music industry was completely gone. Now he was recognized as a violent predator and a threat to society at large. In just another addition to his sea of legal issues, in July 2024, former adult film star Adria English filed yet another lawsuit, again with similar allegations to the many others that had been filed before. The suit alleged that Diddy groomed Adria into performing explicit acts occasionally from 2004 to 2009 during star-studded lavish parties that he usually referred to as freak-offs. Diddy's lawyer, Jonathan Davis, as usual, denied all the allegations leveled against him and maintains the innocence of his client. Things went quiet for a while, but things would go soon south for Diddy again, when on September the 10th, 2024, he failed to attend a virtual hearing for a lawsuit filed against him by a certain Derek Lee Cardello Smith, a Michigan inmate who alleged in his suit that back in 1997, Diddy forced him to take some substances at a party in Detroit, and after he passed out, took advantage of him without his consent. Diddy not showing up to the virtual court hearing did him no favors. In his absence, a default judgment was passed against him, ordering to pay Derek a total of $100 million in compensation. This decision would later be reversed after Diddy's lawyer filed an appeal the next day. But right as it seemed Diddy was out of the woods, his name found its way back to the headlines for all the wrong reasons once again. Dawn Richard, a former singer for Danity Kane, filed a lawsuit against Sean Combs for assault and inhumane treatment. Richard Dawn joined the band Danity Kane in 2005 through Diddy's reality show Making the Band, and she claims in her lawsuit that while she was on the show, Diddy subjected her and other contestants to constant verbal abuse and forced her to work for 48 hours straight. She added that she was overworked so severely that she lost weight, became dehydrated, and developed rashes. This lawsuit would be the straw that would break the camel's tears, and following this case, the complete loss of any shred of goodwill Diddy once had with the public was complete. The authorities would once again step in following this suit, and in September the 16th, 2024, Diddy was arrested by the feds in a Manhattan hotel lobby after a grand jury indictment. According to his lawyer, Diddy fully cooperated with the police and voluntarily moved back to his New York residence to await the trial proceedings for the charges made against him. His lawyer once again insisted that Diddy's cooperation with the police was only more proof of his innocence. He had nothing to hide, and he looked forward to clearing his name in court. On September the 7th, 2024, the day following his arrest, Diddy appeared at the U.S. District Court in New York for the first time, where he was charged with racketeering, trafficking, and transportation to engage in prostitution in an unsealed indictment. The prosecutors also alleged that he had also engaged in kidnapping, forced labor, and bribery, among a whole host of crimes in what they claimed was his role as the head of an organized criminal enterprise. A criminal enterprise that took advantage of women and used threats of violence to force them to participate in substance-fueled orgies with male escorts. The prosecutors argued that the freak-offs were elaborate and highly organized, explicit performances. According to the prosecutors, Diddy's associates would often recruit commercial escorts for these intricately planned parties and booked them into hotel suites. Hard substances were freely available at these parties, so he could easily force the people present to engage in intimate activities and remain fully obedient to his commands. The suit also alleged that it was Diddy's staff that was responsible for arranging and facilitating the transportation of the victims of the freak-offs. They are also accused of organizing and supplying the victims with intravenous fluids to help them recover after the parties, which usually went on for days on end. The prosecutors revealed that he filmed the freak-offs and used them to blackmail his victims into silence. Diddy's lawyer, Mark Agnifilo, once again refuted those claims, insisting that all the freak-offs were consensual and Duffy was an innocent man. After Diddy pleaded not guilty, he was denied bail by the court. The prosecutor stated that this was due to the many instances where he tried to obstruct the government's investigation of his case by reaching out to his victims and witnesses. According to the prosecutor, he often contacted them to feed them with fabricated stories and misleading narratives. In addition to this, the judge also cited his history of substance use and his anger issues as reasons why Diddy needed to be detained until the trial commenced. In the words of the judge, "My concern is that this is a crime that happens behind closed doors." Diddy's lawyers attempted to appeal the decision by saying they would make sure Diddy was put under the surveillance of a private security team if he was released on bail. But Andrew L. Carter Jr., who was the judge who delivered the decision, didn't buy it, saying that even under the watch of the private security team, Diddy could still reach out to his employees to get in touch with witnesses. As of now, Sean Combs, aka Puff Daddy, aka Diddy, is currently being detained at Brooklyn's Metropolitan Detention Center, where he awaits trial. This brings us back to one thing, which is, with all we know about the mountains of allegations against Diddy, what was the relationship between him and Janet Jackson? To truly answer this question, we'll need to go back to where it all started. The connection between Diddy and Janet Jackson can be traced back to the 2004 Super Bowl at the Reliance Stadium in Houston, Texas. During the halftime show of the February 1st sporting event, Diddy, Nelly, Kid Rock, Justin Timberlake, and Janet Jackson were all slated to perform in the halftime show. Their halftime performance would turn out to be one of the most controversial of all time when one of Janet Jackson's breasts was accidentally exposed on stage by Justin Timberlake. The performance was so far that most people only remembered Janet Jackson's wardrobe malfunction and couldn't tell you the first thing about Diddy's performance. Diddy would claim after the performance that while he did perform on the same stage as Janet Jackson, he wasn't really close to the female musician. In a later interview with Andy Cohen in 2015, Diddy said that while he admired her, he never got her number, so they didn't keep in touch. It would be many after what transpired at the 2004 Super Bowl before Diddy would open up about his real feelings towards what happened. He admitted that he was angry about what happened to Janet Jackson because it left his halftime show performance completely unnoticed. Diddy also added that in spite of what had happened, it was time to move on and let bygones be bygones. At the time he was saying all this, Diddy still had no real relationship with Janet Jackson, but that would change after a few chance meetings, and they would finally become close friends. Getting close to Diddy would prove to be a bad decision for Janet Jackson, because while she would end up putting him on blast after the numerous lawsuits alleging a countless number of explicit crimes came to light, the number of close interactions she'd had with Diddy left her kind of implicated in his crimes, at least in the public eye. And in recent times, Diddy and Janet Jackson have had multiple public interactions, like the time when Diddy was seen in a video talking to Janet Jackson and holding her hand, and then going to kiss it while they were backstage at the 2022 Billboard Music Awards. It might have been hard to make out the exact words being said, but it was pretty clear that Diddy was letting her know just how much he adored her and how he'd been a longtime fan of hers. Over all the background noise in one of the clips that made its way to the internet, you can kind of hear Diddy telling Janet, "I've always loved you." That same night, Janet made a surprise appearance at the award show as an award presenter. The artist she happened to present an award to was Mary J. Blige, who was a longtime, very close friend of Diddy's. It was Diddy hosting the show that night, and he'd been the executive producer of the Billboard Awards for a long time. So after Diddy entered into hot water, rumors started to spread across the internet that Mary J. Blige might have also been in the know about all of Diddy's dark secrets. As close as Mary J. Blige was to Diddy, she was also really close to Janet Jackson, leading a lot of people to speculate about Janet Jackson possibly having been aware of all the skeletons in Diddy's cupboard right from the jump. A lot of people just thought there was no way Mary J. Blige wouldn't have told Janet Jackson about everything going on with Diddy long before now. Their suspicions weren't completely unfounded either. On November 9th, 2023, Janet Jackson and Naomi Campbell attended Diddy's 54th birthday party, which was held at the Lavo restaurant in London. The party also doubled as the streaming party for his new album, and Janet Jackson was even seen posting pictures from the event to her Instagram later that day. Both her and Naomi Campbell would publicly cut ties with Diddy after Cassie came out with the allegations of the decade-long cycle of violence and abuse she endured at his hands, leading them to delete all the pictures they posted on the gram from his birthday party. This was the case across the board for a lot of other superstars who did not want anything to do with Diddy after Cassandra Ventura came out with her allegations. But that didn't mean Janet Jackson was out of the woods. To a lot of people, it looked like the real reason they deleted the pictures was to cover their tracks and hide their involvement in Diddy's crimes. And while nobody can know just how involved they were in Diddy's atrocities, it's pretty clear that Cassie's lawsuit was the breaking point for Naomi and Janet's friendship with Diddy. Plus, Naomi Campbell just a few years ago was implicated in a case very similar to Diddy's with Jeffrey Epstein, leading many people to theorize that Naomi might have been a pimp for Diddy. People were making those speculations against Naomi Campbell in particular because so many people had been involved with Diddy over the years on one hand, and on the other, Diddy must have needed a lot of help to get away with all of his crimes for as long as he did. In the minds of many people, Diddy definitely would have needed help getting all those women over those years. Either way, while the extent of her involvement with Diddy might not yet be clear, the truth will definitely come to light as his trial proceedings unfold. On Janet Jackson's end, her closeness to Diddy has come under scrutiny, in part due to the fact that her late brother, music legend Michael Jackson, once faced cases very similar to the ones P Diddy is currently battling. In fact, one of the reasons why Janet Jackson came under so much suspicion in the first case was just how much she defended Michael Jackson when he was dealing with similar cases. Even before and after his death, her late brother was the subject of numerous accusations and lawsuits, alleging that he was inappropriately involved with multiple underage boys, but he fiercely denied the allegations up until his death. Through all of the court cases, Janet always had her brother's back, even when Michael's other sister, LaToya Jackson, said that the allegations made against her brother might be true. She said this was because Michael would often take all these underage boys and stay alone with them in a room for several days without leaving. For a while, Mikkel was also alleged to have been involved in the Epstein case, based on the testimony of Swedish swimmer Johanna Sjöberg. She was a major witness in the case, so her mentioning Michael Jackson in her testimony was a pretty big deal. Add to that the fact that Fahim Muhammad, Michael Jackson's former head of security, later became the head of security for P Diddy, and it sure begins to look like there was more to the ties between Michael Jackson and Diddy. Although none of this directly involves Janet Jackson, it's enough to not rule her out of the case just yet. After all, if she could have backed her brother despite the wealth of allegations he was facing, she could very well be hiding something about Diddy too. Plus, you can't deny that it's pretty weird how Janet Jackson deleted all her photos with Diddy from social media. There's no winning for her at the end of the day, because people will theorize on just how much she knew about Diddy's atrocities no matter what. Adding to all the weirdness, after the announcement of Diddy's trial on September 22, 2024, Usher deleted about 7,000 photos from his social media, while Pink deleted 4,000 from her social media. Someone needs to tell them that no matter what they're trying to hide, deleting photos and posts from social media is pretty pointless these days. The internet never forgets.